Hey guys, I'm Michelle from Virtual Hand Care, and in this video, I'm going to show you 5 activities that you can do to improve your elbow flexion. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm really big into showing you specific exercises that you can do. Those are really helpful, but they can be kind of boring. And really, what's your end goal? It is probably to be able to do certain daily activities again. So if you're dealing with an elbow injury, and in particular, you don't have that full elbow flexion, there's probably a lot of daily activities you just can't do. And so that's why I thought I would share 5 activities that you can actually do on a daily basis to help improve your elbow flexion. Now, if you want to follow along with this video, you want to go ahead and pause and grab a couple of items. One, you're gonna wanna get your phone. You're gonna wanna get maybe a pair of glasses, sunglasses, also a toothbrush. If you really wanna push that flexion, some floss, a hairbrush or a comb, and get yourself a little snack. Put a little snack in a bowl or a plate too. Okay, elbow flexion activity number 1 is using your phone. Just simply working on picking up the phone and holding the phone. Sometimes even just the weight of your phone is enough to make you feel like you're getting a little bit of a workout because maybe you haven't really held anything with that hand. After you've got a good grip on your phone, then you want to work on supination, and that is turning the palm up. Then to take this next step is then obviously to work on bending the elbow as far as you can go and holding that a couple of seconds. And then you can come back down and actually set your phone down into pronation and set it down on a table. And then again, picking the phone up, turning it up in supination, and then coming up as far as you can go, holding a couple of seconds into elbow flexion, and then coming back down. So as you can see, an activity just as simple as using your phone takes quite a bit of motion. It takes your fingers, it takes your forearm, and it takes your elbow too. And now to take this activity one step farther, I want you to phone a friend. Get a friend or a family member that maybe can talk your ear off. And what you want to do is you want to call them and you want to work on holding that elbow flexion for a longer length of time. And so you might want to let that friend know this is an activity that you're working on your elbow exercises right now, and that you just wanted to chit chat for a couple of minutes. And hopefully they can help provide you some encouraging words if you're having a difficult time holding your elbow into flexion. You definitely want to make sure that it's not causing any pain, that you're not straining too much, but hopefully talking with a family member or a friend is kind of distracting you a little bit from that elbow flexion. And then one last technique that you can add to this activity is simply using your other hand to kind of support the arm and then just lightly apply a little bit of pressure to help bring that phone up to your ear just a little bit more. Then you can maybe put them on speakerphone and then put your phone back down on the table. Okay, elbow flexion activity number 2 is using a brush or comb to brush or comb your hair. If you don't have hair, then you could practice washing your head. You could practice putting shampoo in your hand and washing your head. You could practice putting on a baseball cap. You can do whatever activity that works for you. So for this one, I'm gonna use my brush. Again, just like in activity number 1, you just wanna get used to holding that brush or that comb because you wanna make sure you've got a good hold on that. And so when you're just starting out, you really just wanna work on bringing that elbow into flexion just to see where you're at. You might not even be anywhere close to your hair, and that's okay. You know that that's your starting point. That's the really great thing about doing activities like this, is that you actually are able to see your improvements better than if you're just sitting here doing this elbow flexion. It's just more motivating when you can actually see yourself be able to accomplish those little daily activities. With this activity, you can either just come up and down into elbow flexion, just working on that active range of motion, putting the brush down, bringing the brush up as far as you can go. How you would upgrade would be to maybe bring the shoulder up into a little more shoulder flexion, And then trying to bring that elbow back to where you actually try to bring the brush maybe on top of your head, or maybe even try to bring it on the back of your head as well. And now when you're just starting with this activity, we're not really starting to brush our hair yet. We're just trying to get used to bringing that elbow into flexion and bringing that brush just to our head. And once you feel like this gets pretty comfortable and maybe you can go a little farther and reach a little farther, then of course you would want to upgrade that by actually combing or brushing your hair. Elbow flexion activity number 3 is putting on glasses, maybe some sunglasses, maybe reading glasses. If you don't wear sunglasses or glasses, you could also do this with earbuds and practice putting earbuds in your ears. This activity is typically a bilateral activity. You're actually using both hands. So you might kind of feel a little off a little bit when you do this if you are dealing with elbow stiffness. So then you would want to work on elbow flexion and trying to put those glasses on. And you're trying to come up as far as you can go. And you want to put them in line with your nose. And if you can't quite get them on, that's okay. You would just want to come back down. And you would want to work on that activity a couple of times. This is also a really good proprioceptive type of activity. Basically what that means is you have to be able to adjust your arm and your elbow flexion so that you don't poke yourself in the eye with your glasses. And of course, you can do this a couple of repetitions, just like you would your exercises. And so make sure that you're not trying to compensate by bringing the head forward. That's cheating. We don't want to do that. We want to bring the shoulder up and the elbow into flexion, trying to go as far back as you can to try to get those glasses on. Elbow flexion activity number 4. This one is one of my favorites. This is feeding yourself. This is probably something you've been wanting to do for so long, right? Probably since your injury, you probably realized, how am I gonna feed myself? Well, this one, you can give yourself a little treat. You've been working hard up until this point, and who knew that snack time could actually be used as a part of your exercise program. So what you're gonna wanna do is get a plate or a bowl of salty snacks, or maybe something sweet, whatever it is that you like. This activity is pretty straightforward, right? But I want to just kind of point out a couple of things that you are actually working on when you're working on that task of feeding yourself. It's not as easy as you might think when you really kind of break it down. For some people that have a lot of weakness in their hand, just simply picking up a chip and something very small like this can be kind of challenging for them. And so then, of course, being able to hold on to that chip throughout the whole entire way of elbow flexion. And you're working on several things right now. You're actually having to hold on to that chip and apply the right amount of pressure, right? So you don't make that chip crack in your fingers, but also so that it doesn't drop back down on your plate or on the floor. But then you're also trying to concentrate on bringing that forearm into a neutral position, right? And then also working on elbow flexion and even a little bit of shoulder motion to bring that chip up towards your mouth. There comes a certain point where, unless you're looking at that chip, gets out of your line of vision. So unless you're watching that chip the whole entire way to your mouth, that also works on proprioception, which helps you be able to gauge where exactly your mouth is at. Now, sometimes that stiff elbow gets in the way where this is all you're able to do, and you might find that that chip is all the way over here. And so you might have to adjust. But again, working on bringing that chip or that snack up as far as you can go. If you can, popping it in your mouth if you're able to. If not, take your other hand and then apply a little bit of pressure, maybe to try to get that a little bit closer to your mouth by applying a little bit of pressure and a little bit of passive range of motion. Of course, if you can, giving yourself a little treat. And you can do that a couple times. Get yourself a bowl of popcorn and you'll definitely be getting a workout with your elbow flexion. And finally, elbow flexion activity number 5 is brushing or Flossing your teeth. Obviously, brushing your teeth is a very important part of our daily activities and our hygiene. And I find it can be one of the very difficult ones and sometimes the last thing that people are able to do, especially flossing, because it does require a lot of that extreme range of flexion, especially to get to the back of the teeth. So just like with all the other exercises, this type of elbow flexion exercise can be graded according to your abilities, right? So again, depending on your toothbrush, just simply getting used to holding that toothbrush. This is an electric toothbrush, so it has a little bit of weight. And so that can be even challenging in and of itself if you have a heavier toothbrush. Now, when it comes to brushing though, again, when you really break it down, there's a lot of parts to this simple daily activity that we do. So the first part of this activity would just be simply getting used to trying to bring that toothbrush up towards your mouth. You're not trying to brush your teeth. That's the end goal. The initial goal is just to be able to do this motion first. Whatever part is easiest. Maybe it's coming around on this side first, and so then you would want to work on coming across the mouth. And you would want to do that a couple of times and even holding a couple of seconds. Because when it comes to brushing your teeth, right, you're going to be moving all over the place, and you're actually even going to be turning that wrist and that forearm to try to get into all those little spaces of our teeth. So bringing that toothbrush down, coming up to one side of the mouth as far as you can go and back down, and then coming around to the other side of the mouth. And you don't even need to really worry about opening the mouth. You can, if you really want to go in the bathroom in the mirror and see how far you are from that. But you can really just do this as a simulated activity as well, as I'm showing you here. And again, you can always use that other hand to help push that elbow to get a little bit more elbow flexion, right? And get that arm used to staying in this prolonged position in elbow flexion. And then another way to upgrade this activity would then be to bring that arm up and then work on trying to hold the arm in this sustained elbow flexion, and then working on turning the toothbrush in ways that you might be having to turn it, right? So you're staying in elbow flexion, and you need to be able to turn that toothbrush up in various ranges of motion in the forearm, in the wrist, in the hand. And then of course, working on moving that toothbrush around and kind of pumping that elbow in that elbow extension and flexion range of motion that's required when we brush our teeth. So if you're really wanting to challenge yourself, then work on floss. Usually you've got some pretty good range of motion already. You're able to brush your teeth pretty good before most people attempt to floss. Write in the comments below of a couple of other elbow flexion activities that I did not mention here. I know there are a ton. There's so many things we do that require elbow flexion, washing our face, washing our hair, all that stuff. But let me know in the comments below, what was that one activity that you were so happy to finally be able to do as you got more elbow flexion? Now, if you're looking for elbow flexion exercises, I do have several videos that I will link here, so you will want to check those out as well. If you found this video helpful, do please give it a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for watching.